So now we're actually going to look at if statements. There's a lot of different things you can do with an if statement. You can check to make sure some data equals a certain value, even if it's text, a name, or a number. You can check to make sure that a number is greater than another number, a number is less than another number, a number doesn't equal another number, all these other things. So that's what we're going to have a look at. Now, as you can see, we've got some variables here. I'm actually going to use these out. So I'm going to just use number 1, which I'm actually going to set here to, I don't know, set to 5. Then we're going to use an if statement. You could go if num1. Now, to do if something's equal to in byond, you use two equal signs, okay? So if open bracket, the variable you want to check, which in this case I'm checking number 1, if it two equal signs, if it equals 5, close bracket, there's no then, like there is in other languages. So we just straight away, new line and tab across. So if num1 equals 5, then user, your num is equal to 5. I know that's a bit obvious, but anyway, I'm just really showing you for this for speed. I'm going to compile and then I'm going to run. Add. Your number is equal to 5, as you can see. Okay, the verb name is a bit wrong, so I'll change that. I'll call that check or something. Right, now let's say I want to check to see if the number, I'm going to mess around with that number. If I want to know if the number is greater than 5, I use that statement there, / and 5. That will make sure that num1 is greater than 5. If, however, I want to make sure it's greater than 5, but not only is it greater than 5, I can also include the 5. So if it's greater or equal to 5, then do this. You put an equal sign in, okay? Then if you want to check if num1's less than, you just put a less than sign in, which is the left arrow. If it's less than or equal, again, you put the equals after it, so you're getting the idea. And that's it for your basic variables when it comes to numbers. If you can't really use greater than or less than when it comes to text, but you can use equal. So if it equals test and you set that to some text which also equals test, then I know the statement I'm outputting is a bit wrong, but you check and it works fine, okay? And then finally there's the boolean. Now we can have, I'm going to create first boolean. And it's going to equal 0. Now there's boolean variables. Now boolean variables only have a data of 0, 1. I know you can put in what you want, but when you're using booleans you only stick to 0 and 1. It does have some advantages. If you haven't learned to move yet, the variable would be 0. Once you've learnt to move, it sets it to 1. So you can do some checking, and it makes these steps a lot simpler. Watch. If first boolean, and that's it. So if, that's basically saying if first boolean is true, then do this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go user hello, and that should be in speech marks, and we're going to do the other one if not. And now to do if it's not first, so if first boolean is not true, you put one of those, you put an exclamation mark before it, okay? And that's saying if not first boolean, user then y, or whatever you want to put, and I know for a fact that it's going to output the second optional match. If I compile and run, it's going to go y. Well, the reason is first boolean is set to 0, which is false. If I set that to 1, compile and run, we'll get the other option, hell. So as you can see, it's quite easy to check. You can also swap it if you wanted. I mean, if you wanted to make it the opposite, very easy. And you just go first boolean equals not first boolean, and I spelled the boolean wrong there. So first boolean equals not first boolean, or the opposite of first boolean, which I know is slightly confusing, but as you can see, first boolean is 1, and then if I check y, oops, it says y. So if I bring up that back up, and I set that to 0, it'll again do the opposite. If I run it, if I check, hell. So you see you can do the opposite using the not command, which is quite cool. So that's pretty much for booleans. one more thing I'm going to teach you on the if statement is the if then else. Well, excluding the then, the else. Now you see this here, we've actually got two statements. We could actually just do it with an else statement. So you've got your first statement, you're checking that if first boolean, so if it equals true, then output user hell, new line, make sure you're on the same indented line as the if statement, then type in else, new line, and then you tab across. Now I could have a second if statement there, but I know for a fact that if it runs the else bit, this is going to be true. So if I compile, so what's going to happen, it's going to go is first boolean true. So if first boolean is true, then do that. Well, hang on a minute, it's 0, so no, it's not true. So if first boolean true, no. Else, in that fact, if it's the opposite, if it's not, then use output y. So if I compile and run, you check, hell, there you go. Hang on, that should be right. Oh yeah, I'm using the not command here, aren't I? So let's get rid of that. That's why. And now if I check, as you can see, y. So that's just a few things you can do with it. Now that is the if statement covered quite thoroughly, and the else statement, and I hope you've really got to grips with the if and else statements.